And welcome back to episode number 35 of Raise the Banner podcast. I am one of your two co-hosts tonight, Macator, here with Benny Ballgame Dearth. How you doing, man?
Good. Good. Back into the swing of things. It was a weird week last week because of school vacation. I got sick in the middle of the week. So back into the swing of things as of yesterday, but good. Doing
That's
good.
good. You win your daughter's softball game last night?
Did not. Took the loss.
I heard it was the coaching errors.
No, it was my players think the ball is gonna bite them. So when the ground ball goes somewhere, they all just stare at it and go, "What am I supposed to do with this round yellow thing rolling towards me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, can you pick that up and throw it to first base, please?" But it
My
was
dad's doing an over 60 softball league,
Is he old
and
enough to be in that
he would
league? I mean, you're like
yeah
12,
he's
so I'm
60
surprised your dad's that old.
he's he's 63, 64, something like
You,
that.
you, do you have the backup hip just in case he needs one?
Yeah, and well, he was worried about like not being able to you know compete, and I was like, you're gonna be probably one of the better ones. Like he can hit the ball pretty well.
Yeah,
Like
is he
in
still in pretty?
softball,
Is he in decent shape
he
still?
I don't know about shape.
He
Like,
is a shape. He has many shapes.
yeah, like, I mean, but like
To be
he
fair,
could
I've never
in
met your dad.
softball he can still park at like 270,
Oh,
260, 270 if he gets a good piece out of it in
I'll be
softball. So
37 tomorrow. I don't think I could hit the ball 27 feet.
yeah. All right. Let's jump into it. New England Patriots, number 3 pick. Uh, there
We
are
expect
obviously a lot of rumors and speculation ramping up because obviously the draft is approximately
49
49 and a half
hours.
hours away.
Yep.
And there's talk constantly. Will the Patriots trade back? Um, to what degree are they considering trading back? All that. One thing that I've noticed, mainstream NFL reporters have been more vocal about this than Patriots reporters. And not that the Patriots reporters are not considering it, but the vibe I get from NFL reporters are the Patriots might trade back. And the vibe I get from Patriots reporters are the Patriots will listen, but they're probably not trading back.
Yeah, I believe
In
I watched just to piggyback off that. I watched a little bit of the um I forget what they called it. It was on ESPN too, like NFL Nation something. Their mock draft where all 32 ESPN reporters that cover the NFL teams all dialed in from their respective areas and did a first round mock. And I believe the words Mike Reese used were barring an unprecedented change in events, the Patriots are going to stay at number 3. Obviously we'll get into ours, but he has them taking a quarterback at number 3.
yeah, I like the Patriots reporters have been saying the same thing for what has to be 2 months now, right? So they've been saying for 2 months now, okay, like we're going to stick at 3, pick a QB. The report was, that they're going to they're going to sign a veteran and then take a young quarterback early in the draft. So nothing has really changed. And I know we kind of disagreed a little bit off the air about like the whole concept of like listening on offers if you're not going to trade it and all that type of stuff. And then felt this was just like the most cliche Felger and Maz BS today. I'm listening to this on the way to the wake today, and he goes, they're like, oh, like you could create enemies around the league if you're not intending to trade the pick, but you still will fielding offers. I was like, this is just like you're just fishing. You're just fishing to bitch about something. Like it was just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean, could it be that in an extreme example? Sure. if you're having conversations with another GM, be like, yeah, like, we don't really, buy into these guys. So, let's talk trade. And they talk a bunch of offers. And then at the last minute, you're like, haha, just kidding. We're taking a quarterback.
Yeah,
I can see that,
I mean,
but like simply picking up a phone that rings, and the more I thought about it after we talked, it made sense, right? Like, if the phone rings, you pick it up, and then, because at some point everything has a price, right? If the Minnesota Vikings called the Chicago Bears and said, we'll give you number 11, number 23, and our first round draft pick for the next 10 years, obviously the Bears are going to take that offer. Right now, that's an offer nobody would ever make, but that's what I'm saying is every pick has a price. There was the rumor about different offers for whatever, but the thing with fielding offers is, like you said off record, is at some point an offer becomes enticing enough that you have to think about it. There was a report today, you mentioned it, I had also heard it, that the offers to this point that they've received are quote unquote laughable, and that they haven't received anything worth considering trading the pick, which has kind of been in line for the last week or so with what reports have come out regarding their plans at number 3. But it doesn't make sense to not at least listen to offers. Like, obviously, it just means, I'm not saying that they're 100% not committed to a quarterback, but if you're willing to listen to offers, it means that to some degree, you're at least willing to entertain offers from other teams for your draft pick. Whereas, like, the Commanders have said, no, we're not trading, don't bother calling, right? Like, they're fully locked in, like, they have no interest. They're definitely staying put. But to say that you're going to make enemies around the league makes no sense, especially when you're supposed to take at least some calls and say, yeah, no, we're not interested, thanks, and then
the biggest thing is, like, you're kind of, in the way you like you faked it and mocked it, is like there's a big difference between fielding calls and actively shopping something.
Correct.
Okay, so the number 3 pick, a bunch of teams want it, whether it's Minnesota, Denver, the Raiders, the Giants. At least of those 4 teams conceivably would have interest in trading up to 3. Just because they call doesn't mean you're actively shopping the pick. And people need to understand the difference of those two things, in the sense that, your job as a GM is to do what's best for the team. And if you're just completely shutting out one side of it, you're not doing you're not doing the due diligence that is of the best interest of the team. Doesn't mean you're going to go down that path. But, like, if you're a GM and someone, what if Kevin O'Connell, and I'll tell you, like, I forget his name, the Vikings GM, like, he might be on a little bit of a hot seat this year. They don't land a QB. They have another disappointing season. He could be on the out. He could feel the pressure. What if Minnesota called you and said, we'll give you 11-23, our first next year, in Jordan Addison? That is, in my opinion, over 4 first-round picks in value. Of course you got to consider it. Of course. So, like, this idea that, like, you just need to say, nope, we are unequivocally taking a quarterback at 3. There's no discussion. Don't bother calling. You're just hurting yourself. Like, why? What is the point? There's really just no hurt in just taking the phone call. And so, like, when Felger was making those comments, I literally, like, I don't yell out loud at a radio station, but I literally was like, shut the hell up, Felger, out loud. And Nicole was like, what are you, like, shut up, stop talking on the radio. I was like, no, it's just ridiculous. The idea that, like, Elliot Wolf isn't calling O'Connell and the Vikings and the Broncos to be like, hey, what are you going to give me? What are you going to do this? Will you do this? Will you do that? Will you do this? No, it's, hey, Elliot, them calling the Pats and saying, we're interested. And they're saying, okay, make an offer. Like, make an offer. Make your best offer. And, if we like it, we'll take it. If we don't, we don't. And the asking price is probably through the roof. And that's fine. That doesn't mean that they're not, that, like, and when you acknowledged a minute ago, everything has a price. You could be fully invested on Drake May. You could feel Drake May has the potential to be a franchise quarterback. The reality is there's a very possible chance he's not. Just statistically.
Right.
There's a very possible chance he's not. Now, if you believe that, if you believe he's the answer, then yes, you should be holding on to that pick with death grips, and a team should need to essentially rip it out of your hands to trade it. But maybe a team does. And if they do, then sure, consider it. There's a price for Drake May. You could think he's a potential franchise guy, but there's a price. And like I said, if Minnesota came and offered 3 firsts plus a really good young receiver with 4 years of control, I would consider it. I absolutely would. And so there's just this big misconception of like all these reports and rumors, that the Patriots must not really be, invested in and must not really like these quarterbacks. It's bullshit. First of all, half the shit might not even be coming from the Patriots. This could be like Ian Rappaport calling Minnesota and Minnesota saying, yeah, we're talking to the Patriots about the trade. And then Rappaport takes that as, okay, the trade's, it could be up for grabs. Half of this is probably from other teams, never mind the Patriots.
Yeah, I would agree. It's interesting too, right? Like you talk about the national guys, and you touch on this in the opening. National guys versus local guys is, there was Tom Pelissero had something earlier today along the same lines that the Pats were looking to, the Pats were a legitimate trade down candidate, that they're not fully in on a quarterback. But then everything you read out of the, maybe less so from Burt Breer. I know he's a national guy, but he's a local guy, former Pats guy.
Yeah, he's certainly he's an NFL guy, but he's like, he does like the Sportsnet, with Felger and Maz all the time, and
he's got multiple segments on 98.5. I'm sure I don't know if he goes on EEI or not. I'm sure he does. I don't listen to EEI personally. Nothing against them. I just don't. And so, but again, less so Burt Breer, because he has hinted at, like, the Pats possibly trading the pick, right? But all the local guys, Greg Bedard, Mike Reese, who, he's a national guy, but he's a local Pats reporter for ESPN.
He's ESPN. He's the Patriots reporter for ESPN.
Yeah. So, but compare like Greg Bedard is strictly New England. He's the New England Sports Journal guy. Like he's specifically he's a regional guy, right? But all the local guys are saying that everything coming out of Foxborough is that what you had mentioned, that people have called, they've expressed interest, but that barring an unprecedented offer, the Patriots are not trading the pick and they will select a quarterback. And you pair that with the fact that Elliott Wolf personally, now granted, take what you want, take it with a grain of salt, right? Because the pre-draft presser from your GM is
as useless as can be.
It's fuel for the media fire. He's going to say what every GM is supposed to say. He's like, we're open for business if the right offer comes along. Because again, there's a price for everything. Again, like Chicago and Washington have shut teams down at every point because we're not trading the pick, and no unprecedented offer is going to come in for number one. So there's to them, there's really no point, right? So all the local guys say they're not trading the pick. Again, it would take an unprecedented offer, and it would be, highly unlikely that the pick gets traded. And again, pairing with Elliott Wolf's comments in his presser, he said that in certain words, he had said that Daniels and May were what they believe to be franchise quality quarterbacks, but basically that they want to do what's in the best interest of the team. So if the local guys, Mike Reese especially, he's probably a guy I would trust the most. Between Mike Reese and Wolf, it seems that it's way more likely that they stay put, take a quarterback, and it's going to be May or Daniels, then they're going to trade the pick. Just because, again, you're talking about multiple first-round picks or the equivalent of first-round picks plus first-round caliber talent. Like you mentioned, a first-round pick swap, 3 firsts, and Jordan Addison. Something along those lines makes you go, okay, like you actually have to have that conversation. Say, we have this offer on the table. What are we doing? And even still, like for me personally, that may not be enough. But that's probably where the conversation actually starts. Because if they call and say, hey, like 11-23 and next year's first, you're like, yeah, no, thanks, we're not interested.
No. Yeah, it starts with minimum 4 firsts of value. In Reese made the comment as well, I think it was today, that he thinks a player would probably need to be involved too. Whether that was a Darrisaw, an Addison, a Jefferson, something like that, to the mix. And, maybe that is, you could argue the concept is, the Patriots, yeah, you want a proven asset in return, but it would be a little bit easier to sell a trade back if you're getting Jordan Addison or Jefferson or Darrisaw, where it's like a proven guy too. You know what I mean? It's one thing to trade back just for picks. There's another thing if you're at least getting, if the Patriots did that deal where they got Addison in the 3 first, it's like, all right, well, we just got I would say Addison's a minimum wide receiver 2 in this league.
Right, and he has wide receiver 1 potential. He just won't ever be a wide receiver 1 in Minnesota as long as Justin Jefferson's there.
Yeah.
But he has that kind of ceiling.
Correct. And so it's like, yeah, all right, the deal. Like if you did something like that, yeah, I would certainly entertain the possibility. And then after that, you receive that offer, it goes back to the concept of, what do I believe in these players? Do I believe Drake May has that ceiling? What do I think his floor is? All that type of stuff.
Yep.
If you believe in Drake May, or if you believe in JJ McCarthy, there is no realistic offer probably that's going to come in. And I spoke about this and I posted about this the other day. Yesterday, in part of that Addison offer is I just don't think Minnesota is going to make that offer for 2 reasons. One, I think it's just going to be too much for them, for them to do. 2, I don't feel like Minnesota thinks that they need Drake May to be good. I think that they comfortably view Drake May as above JJ McCarthy, as do I. I have May is my QB2 and McCarthy is my QB3, but there's a teardrop after that, between that. I think that they feel, if they have 2 options, and I guess I'll pose this to you. If you have 2 options and you're Minnesota and you're saying, and the New England Patriots say, we want 11, 23, and a 25 first plus, let's just say Addison. So 3 first plus Addison. Or Arizona is saying, we'll do 11, 23 in the first. What are you doing?
I mean, I think realistically, and again, like if I'm Minnesota, unless I believe that Drake May is that much better than JJ McCarthy, which I personally don't think that. Yeah, I personally don't think it's like. I never, I kind of graded out the top 3 guys. I never really graded out JJ McCarthy. I would say he's probably. I don't even know. I would say again, if I'm Minnesota, if the gap is close, if they whether they like May more than McCarthy or not, if they believe that it's close enough that it's not Drake May or bust, of course I would trade with Arizona because you're keeping Jordan Addison. Keep in mind they're gonna have to pay Justin Jefferson the richest wide receiver contract of all time a year from now. Well, theoretically 2 years from now, because I'm going to guess they're going to have to pick up his 5th year option. Because this
is his 5th year.
I thought he had 1 more. No,
this is his 5th year.
So you're going to have to pay him a year from now, unless you tag him.
I think you're really realistically going to have to pay him this offseason.
Right.
I think once they get through this draft,
unless they tag him to figure out money later, right?
They could. I don't know if he'll play on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could debate that at another time. It's a little different under the new CBA with holdouts, but you figure you're going to have to pay Jefferson. So obviously, I would rather hold on to Addison because you have 4 more years of guaranteed control. Obviously, if you exercise his 5th-year option. So of course, I'm making the deal with Arizona because I'm giving up less assets. I'm giving up less firsts, and I'm not giving up Jordan Addison.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think, although I say that, and I can, post my my personal final full round 1 mock on social media. I can post on X. I personally think that they're better off moving up with LA at 5 because it won't cost them. I don't think it'll cost them as much. I could dive into it. The NFL Nation mock draft had them trading 11, 23, a 4th rounder this year and a 3rd rounder next year to go from 11 to 5 to take JJ McCarthy. I think you don't have to give up as much, especially if you're throwing in a couple extra future picks that are not first rounders. So, I mean, if I'm Minnesota, that's kind of my sweet spot. I mean, getting off topic here, but I mean, in a vacuum, yeah, of course, I'd rather give up less picks and not Jordan Addison. Unless, of course, unless it's if it's Drake May here and then JJ way down here. I know, not to scale here because there's only so much on the camera, but if the gap is really big between the 2 of them, then yeah, maybe you got to swing for the fences because you think that the gap is wide enough that you'd rather give up the extra pieces to go get a guy you think is going to be that much better than JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I think that there's a chance. I think there's a realistic chance that they view McCarthy as a very legit piece that can come in and run their offense and be a good player. Maybe not top 5, but they think he can be a better version of Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I can see that. Similar build, similar skill set.
More dynamic version of Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and I think you add in the mobility piece. Not that Purdy can't run. I just think McCarthy's more of an athletic runner. But yeah,
McCarthy's very underrated.
And especially in that offense, I mean, they still need to do work on defense. I feel like that's kind of Minnesota's MO. A team that'll score 34 but give up 32, or score 31, give up 35. So they got work to do on the defense. But I think that, especially if McCarthy is as pro ready as they say he is, again, we're not in these interviews, so we don't know. But if he's as pro ready as they say he is, then, maybe they don't need to necessarily sit him for an extended period of time. If he's not ready during camp, then obviously you don't rush it. You spent premium capital to get a premium player, so you don't rush him along. But if he's ready to go, I think he could step in, especially where, the talent around him, they have solid offensive line, 2 all-pro wide receivers. Madison's still there, right? Or did he sign elsewhere?
I think they cut him.
Well, did they cut him? Oh, I wasn't sure because I know Cook's not there anymore, obviously. So I wasn't sure if they stuck with
cut
Addison.
Now, what I think is going to end up happening, and this is just my gut feeling, is I think that they're going to call, the Pats are going to make their pick. They're not going to meet their price. I think Arizona's
in Las Vegas. I just checked.
Yeah, I think he's going to stick and stay. Arizona's going to stick and stay at that pick, and I think they'll call the Chargers. And I think the deal with the Chargers will ultimately not be what we're really expecting, which I don't think it. And by not really expecting, I don't think it will be 3 first. I think we could see.
No,
I think we'll see 11. I think we could see 11, a 25 first, and a 26 second, or a 26 third.
Yeah, some combination of 2 first-round picks, and then I don't want to say a mid-rounder because mid-rounder is, 4th or 5th. I could see some combination of, a, pick swap this year and then a first and a day 2 pick, which would be a 2nd or 3rd rounder.
Yeah.
Whether or not that.
And I think they take McCarthy at 5.
I think ideally they don't want to trade 23. I think if they move up to 5, which I don't want to say they have to, but I think, and I've touched on this a couple of times. I forget if it was here or not. I think that there's enough of a rumor mill that the Giants want a first round quarterback, that the Vikings are not willing to take the risk that if they really want a quarterback, okay, they can't get May from the Pats or Daniels from the Pats, whoever falls to 3. I think both of us expected to be Drake May at 3. The Vikings can't move up. Arizona is not going to pass up an opportunity on Marvin Harrison. I mean, they need help, but he electrifies that offense. He can take the top off, do all the things for Kyler Murray. And so you look at number 5, where like that to me is the spot that Minnesota, if they really think the Giants are a legitimate quarterback threat, they have to make the move. I know that ideally they don't want to trade 23, which is why I think you could see, 11, a first rounder this year, and then probably a second rounder. I think if they're not giving up a second rounder in the future, it would probably mean that they have to give up 11 and 23, and then maybe like next year's second round pick.
I think if they give up, I would bet that they will be 11 and 23 for 5, or like 11, a 25 first, and maybe like a third. Where it's like, all right, you can have 23, or you can have our first next year and a third. And then, LA, the Chargers are basically saying, which would we rather?
Yeah, I'm trying to see.
So it's a, we'll be able to obviously see it live happening within the next 24 hours. I mean, 48 hours roughly.
Yeah. So real quick, I just brought up the draft tech chart. So LA's 5th round pick, according to them, is worth 1,700 points. 11 is worth 1,250, and 23 is worth 760. So value wise, according to the chart, 11 and 23 is enough. I just don't think LA would move back without getting more than just those 2 picks. It doesn't.
Well, that's where I think
it's
the
probably
value.
it's probably a future day 2 pick if they do that. But I think that, Minnesota ideally would much rather do like 11 next year's first and possibly again like a third rounder.
Yeah. Well, again, this goes back to, I think it's bullshit when people talk about like, oh, the Patriots must not be invested to a guy. I think the asking price for 3 is like bare minimum 4 first. And then the asking price, and I think the realistic asking price for number, let's say 5, which, when you say 3, the asking price for 3, I would say the asking price for Drake May. So the asking price
Yes.
essentially for Drake May is borderline like 4 first, which is
Out
kind
of
of nuts for a guy that hasn't played, which,
yeah.
but that's part of the game.
Is
But
the pick
McCarthy is probably 2,
2 first and a day
maybe.
2 and maybe a day 2 pick.
Yeah, maybe. So that's
Um
why the Vikings are going to sit there and say, do we want to give up, let's say, 4 firsts in value for Drake May, or do we want to give up 2, maybe like 2 and a third in terms of first round value for JJ McCarthy? And I think they're going to ultimately settle for the lesser of the 2. I
yeah.
think that they're pretty hard pressed on going up and get one of them, but I don't think they're going to overextend themselves for Drake May.
Yeah. Do you think, like, let's just play out the scenario. Let's say Drake May goes number 2. Do you think the asking price for number 3 changes? And if so, what? And if so, how much?
It's tough because we haven't heard. It's just been so consensus that like Jane Daniels is going 2, Jane Daniels is going 2, that like we haven't heard a lot of opinions on Jane Daniels. But I kind of would think that the price for I think the Patriots might prefer Jane Daniels, to be honest with you. But I think the market for 3 would go down. Meaning, I think that the Vikings like May more than Daniels. So if Daniels was there, that they're less likely to trade for 3. And it's same thing with the Giants. So this is like we don't know for sure that Daniels is going 3, but that's a huge wild card in this. If May happened to go 2, I think there's about a 98% chance the Patriots just make the pick. even if Mays that Daniels goes
Yeah,
to, I think there's a 95%. But you get what I'm saying. I think
yeah,
that the teams trading up are more interested in Drake May than Jaden Daniels. And to each their own. We're not going to get into how we feel about each guy comparatively. We've already done that, but
yeah.
yeah. So all right, so I want to get into our mock 3.0 or final mock. In this one, in the previous two that we messed around and if Drake May goes to, I'm going to mock it to the point where we get Drake May, because at this point I
We're yeah,
just don't.
we're gonna play the odds that it's Drake, it's Daniels at 2. I've played around with the mock draft simulator, and I mean it's 95 times out of 100, it's Jaden Daniels at 2, and you can take Drake May at 3.
Yeah, it's fun how I've been saying that this was going to happen for 2 months now, and finally PFF is caught
Yeah,
up and said,
even though make sure you turn that down one more. There you go. The other thing too, right, is that they must have changed the algorithm on the website, because Jaden Daniels player rank hasn't changed in
well,
probably
you can change the
he's still
standard on the settings. You can change it to public or PFF rankings, and they changed it to the public all the way for the standard.
okay. Whoa.
All right.
uh
For our purposes, it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
We're
that's true. I would say that there's like a 3.5% chance that JJ goes 2. So,
yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen.
I have once.
Yeah. So what you got here? It's plain and simple. The third pick, Patriots NFL draft,
Yeah.
is Drake May.
Hold on. Wait.
It's good.
Let me
We'll see how this plays out. Daniels goes 6. There you go. Odunze then alt. Okay.
Turner, Fuaga, Quinion Mitchell. So pause it real quick. So I know that this is a Patriots mock, right? So I was reading this earlier today. So this is going to be, I'm going to double dip on this. I know that again, we're not going to talk full mock, but there were a couple reports out that the Eagles were in the market for trading up, that they need a corner, and there's increasing talk that Denver is not going to be able to pull it off to move up. Sean Payton went on record a few days ago, last week maybe, I don't know the exact time frame, essentially saying that he viewed their spot at 12 as being one of two things. Either he's comfortable, quote unquote, mortgaging the future to move up for a quarterback, which means, again, probably calling LA and saying, or New York, and saying, hey, here's our offer, because JJ's still on the board. Here's our offer, move up. In all likelihood, I would expect that to not be the case, because I would expect Minnesota to make a stronger push if they really want JJ, right? It came out earlier today that the Eagles were looking to trade up, and then Peyton, in addition to saying he was okay mortgaging in the future, said that he basically said he was not using the number 12 pick at number 12, that it would either be part of a trade up or a trade down. So I know that PFF will not do a computer mock to another computer. So I would just want to pause it and say that I would expect that the 12th overall pick is not going to be Denver.
Yeah, I mean, you could see
And
Philly. You could see Philly and Denver.
yeah, I mean, obviously, and the other part of it too is Denver does not have a second round pick in 2024. So you could see where, because Philly's sitting at 22, Philly realistically probably has to trade one of their mid second round picks. They'd have to trade 22, either 50 or 53, and then maybe something else, right? I mean, you're moving up 10 spots. I mean, you could give a rough comp. I'm just gonna bring up the Chiefs Bills trade from 2017. So that particular trade. So the Buffalo Bills moved up from the Chiefs moved up from 27 to 10. And it was 27, a 2017 third, which was number 91 that year, and their first round pick in 2018 is what Kansas City gave up to move up for Mahomes. So, 27-10 is different than 22-12, but you probably have to trade either 50 or 53 or possibly a future first round draft pick. But that's a spot I could see a trade. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, continue.
No, all good. No, I agree. I think Denver can move down. I think Philly can move up. But
And
right, let's see how this.
I expect Denver to move off of that spot.
Yeah. All right. So we got
I
a
really
couple
wish,
notables. This would
Yeah.
be an interesting, very interesting pick.
I think he goes. Me personally, I think he goes earlier than that.
I think he goes to Indy or Jacksonville or New Orleans.
Yeah, I think a hot spot is for New Orleans. Pair him up
They
with
need an outside guy.
Pair him up with Chris Olave. I mean, the other thing is Jacksonville, I guess, even though they signed Gabe Davis in free agency, I know that they lost Calvin Ridley. But they're a team that, even though PFF doesn't have wide receiver listed, they're a team that earlier today or yesterday I had read was looking to possibly move up, and they were in the wide receiver market. But yeah, so I would say that Thomas goes before 18.
Wiggins, Murphy. So that this makes sense. That's a really good spot for him. I think they're a little bit more likely to go tackle or wide receiver, but they do need corner across from Joey Porter Jr.
Yes.
Latu, again, we just talked about them moving up a corner, but if they sit at 22 and he's available, that's a home run pick.
Yeah.
I think he's like the 1B of edge rushers. So at 22, that's a really good pick.
Yeah. And in that NFL Nation mock on ESPN2, the Falcons reporter picked Latu at 8 over Dallas Turner.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
Interesting.
All right, so here we go. So, I saw a report not too long ago by, I don't know, a little bit of a shaky report, but that Minnesota is like prepping for the idea of not being able to move up and, taking one of these guys. And this is what we could see. They go corner, they get, at least in my opinion, the number one corner in the draft. And then at 23, I don't like the pick. I don't like Bo Nix much. But
I would say if they can't move up from McCarthy, their move would probably be that's Penix, not Bo Nix.
Yeah, very possibly. Dallas, I don't know if they're going corner, but so be it. That's a logical pick.
I mean, given that Dallas needs a left tackle, I know Mims doesn't play the left side. Did Barton go already?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got Chop Robinson again. I don't know if he's going to go this early, but that's a logical pick for Tampa. Now Arizona goes tackle. They want a left tackle. I don't know if Guyton's playing left tackle in the NFL. There's talks that he can.
Where did Barton go? Miami or Pitt? No. Where did he go? LA. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily think he goes 19. I know that tackle's a need, but
I think that there's a sneaky chance that Barton goes earlier than people think. I think that here is a spot for Barton.
I think that's a little late for Fautanu. I think Fautanu goes a little higher.
And I don't think he's not going to the Raiders, but I think.
Well, so here's the thing about the Raiders.
I think both of these spots are very possible Barton spot. Because here's the thing on Barton is, yes, he's going to be a guard in the NFL, probably, maybe a center.
Yeah, he's not going to play. He has played left tackle, but he's not built for that position.
He is that plug and play, instant starter, day one guy that you just don't really have to worry about. It's like while guard is not the sexiest pick, dude, protecting the QB is pretty sexy in the long run.
Yeah, and I'll go back to the Raiders thing at 13. I mean, whether it's Latham or not, if they plan on taking a quarterback, it would make sense to draft an offensive lineman. Because in all likelihood, right, like there's been the rumored interest that the Raiders want Jaden Daniels because of the Antonio Pierce connection. I don't think they have the firepower to do it. So I don't think they're taking a quarterback at 13
Yeah,
because I think
and
that
they need a right tackle, and Latham, from what I've heard, is pretty high on boards. Even though the
he's not
history
a
of Bama tackles isn't great, but I don't
and
that
he
that
doesn't
shit
play
doesn't
he
matter.
doesn't play left tackle.
No, no, but they need right tackle.
Yeah.
Is it
So
Leatherwood that's in Las Vegas? Is that his name?
maybe.
Leatherwood.
But especially right, like I mean, I know Bo Nix went to Minnesota, but you figure right, like if Vegas trades up or gets Michael Penix, and I mean, I don't want to position it in a way this is going to sound, but obviously if you've got a lefty quarterback, then right tackle becomes a little bit more important than it normally would because he's now the blind side protector, not the left side guy. You still need competency at both tackle positions, but if they're looking at it going, we don't have the firepower to move up for a quarterback from 13 into the top 5, but we absolutely have the firepower to move up from, I think it's 44 is what they own. They
Yeah,
absolutely have the firepower to move up from 44 somewhere if Penix were to fall. Um, and then so now all of a sudden you've got a right tackle, and now you have a lefty quarterback where right tackle's importance is a little bit elevated because you've
yeah,
got a lefty.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so Worthy goes to Buffalo. That would be an interesting pick. Obviously, I mean they need wide receivers.
They need 2 wide
Uh,
receivers.
that's going to leave. I think a lot of the tackles are gone. There's still like Morgan, who's more of a guard. Ladd and Adonai Mitchell both still available.
Yes.
Do you want to consider trading up?
Um, no.
No. Okay.
Um, I think pause it real quick. I also think that that's a good spot for Kool-Aid. So here's my thing. So I would say that if Guyton or Mims, who again, I realize that Guyton and Mims play right side. I think that I think Mims is enough of an athletic guy, especially given his size. I think that one of them could learn to play left side. That if one of them were to fall, I could
I
see
think if
like I
if Guyton was available here, I could see the Patriots trading up. Like that's the range where I think it could be doable.
correct.
27.
So if they've got an idea, right, where it's like Guyton or Mims or trying to think of who else who like a left tackle they could possibly fall. Like if they really love Guyton and they think Guyton could be not Guyton, Graham Barton. I know he's not built for the left tackle spot, but he's been a left tackle before. Like if they really buy into Graham Barton, especially, and granted we're kind of in uncharted waters because Bill's gone, but guys that learned under Bill are still here. So, you know, Bill always loved the versatile guys, the swing tackle, if you want to call it that. I mean, as recently as Isaiah Wynn, a guy that was a guard, could also play tackle,
Yeah.
on when it was both. I know that they took him in the 6th round, but Graham Barton might be a guy that they could look at. But yeah, I mean, unless one of the tackles that they love falls into that like 26, 27, 28 range, I think they're going to move back from 34 and that
I
way
agree.
they can get, and there's been some rumors, you brought this up, of Patrick Paul thinks that the public like draft boards are drastically underrating him, and that conversations he's had with teams indicates he probably will be, a mid to 2/3 of the way to the 2nd round type of draft pick. Whereas most mock drafts, like in this one, I guarantee you we could get him within striking distance of 68. Maybe you have to move up.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a wild card on PFF, but like I personally think Paul is like almost locked into the top like 47, top 50.
Yeah, I would say top. I mean, again, depending on what teams need, top 50 pick. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that again, if the tackle that they really think that they can realistically target falls into that like again 26, 27, 28, then I think that they would move up, because to move up from 34 to that spot realistically would cost you like a mid-round pick. It's not going to cost a ton to move up from 34 to 27, but if he's not there, then I would fully expect him to move back.
Yeah. All right. So Ladd went 30. That would be a really good spot for Ladd. Well, that would be a really good pick for Baltimore. Maybe not a good spot for Ladd, especially for fantasy wise. But San Francisco, Darius Robin. I don't know if they go edge, but
It's interesting that he went there because the NFL Nation mock had him at 31, based on the fact that Kyle Shanahan loves his edge guys. Bosa has a little bit of an injury history, and he's
yeah, I
not old. He's
guess
not old, but he's not young. I think that might
San
be
Francisco should just go best available. Although they should beef up their O line, but they really should just go best available.
yeah.
Let's see, Kansas City, Morgan. All right, so Morgan, he played right. No, he played left side.
Yeah, he was the
Yeah,
left side,
so
but the concern with Morgan though was when he measured at the combine, he's got really short arms for a guy his
Yeah.
size. He's got, so to put it in perspective, okay, I go 5'10", 205, and I have the same length arms as Jordan Morgan, who's 6'6", 320.
yeah,
He's got like 32-inch arms.
yeah.
He's
All right, so Carolina, Xavier Legette made a comment the other day that he says that Carolina would take him at 33. That's what he was told. We'll see if it's true, but just to note that for this pick, I don't expect him to go there. But
and just a quick aside, on their flights to Detroit, Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze shared a flight coincidentally. No, not planned ahead, but coincidentally, they shared a flight to Detroit, and maybe they're future teammates.
Yeah, possibly.
So this is the spot, and I'm kind of bummed that the mock only has one offer. What's the offer we're getting for who we getting the offer from at 34?
Hold on. So, have you heard about Pretty Ricky on Instagram, on Twitter?
It sounds familiar, but I couldn't.
He was a guy that random account that was breaking some real news and stuff like that. And
recently, or are we talking like a few years ago?
No, recently, during free agency and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he was breaking some real stuff, and then I think his account got deactivated or whatever. So, anyways, he's back, supposedly. I don't know if you can really confirm this is him, but he just said, I can confirm there will be a new highest paid wide receiver that will be announced before the draft. And then
is his handle, is it at pretty_Ricky 143?
No, it's Pretty Ricky 213. The one you mentioned is probably his first one. But anyways, then he said it's not Justin Jefferson, but a big cat team. Meow. What teams are the Cats? Panthers? There's no Panther team. There's no. Excuse me. There's no wide receiver that the Panthers are paying.
Highest pay. Well, so let's see. Who's a cat? So Panthers.
The Jaguars. Who the hell are they paying?
Though they just paid Ridley, so they're not paying him again.
No, the Jaguars didn't even pay Ridley.
I'm sorry. Ridley went to Tennessee? Well, the Jaguars. No, yeah, the Jaguars aren't paying anybody. So here's the only thing I can think of is, and we haven't touched on this. I'd love to get your opinion on this on the record. And one more so than the other, but I think AJ Brown and T. Higgins are legitimate draft day names you could see gone.
Oh yes, and I forgot this team. That makes sense.
Oh, the Lions. Oh yeah,
yeah. I forgot about the Lions. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on. Yeah, it could be Amon-Ra St. Brown. So crazy to think he was. He was a 4th round draft pick, which is crazy to think about. So I was going to say perhaps Carolina acquires AJ Brown and then rips up the remaining 3 years of his deal and signs him to a mega deal.
Yeah, I would assume that he would have been inferring to a trade.
Can you share that? No. Can you share that tweet with me? I couldn't find him on X.
Yeah, and we got to take this guy is it true type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was right about a few different things on free agency. So I guess we'll see.
I was spelling his name wrong. That's why. All right. So what's the offer at 34? Who's making us an offer?
So
Gross.
yeah. So I don't give a shit about this. Is just randomized.
It
So
is.
we got to look at the draft at this point.
Okay, so theoretically, okay, so go to the Raiders.
Yeah. So the Raiders are available. Do I want to mock a Penix trade here? I don't know, because I don't know if I realistically expect him to be available, but
You don't think there's any realistic possibility he's sitting there at 34?
no, I think there is a possibility, just not highly likely.
So
All
like
right,
my personal mock, my final round one mock is I had Vegas trading up with Kansas City to
yeah,
get Michael Penix in the first round, because it's for the same reason that the Ravens did it, so that they could get Lamar with the last pick because they wanted that 5th-year option. So realistically, if you're
well,
trading back,
let's say Penix, and let's look at the top players available. So you got Newton, who's a fucking animal.
yeah, there's no way he's sitting there at 34. That's
So
unrealistic.
what teams are players moving up for? Michael Penix Jr.
I mean,
I guess any of these wide receivers it's going to be a shit show in round 2 of what order they go into.
yeah, I would say realistically, you could have,
Are you looking to trade back, like a big trade back or something small?
So like in my final Patriots mock, my personal one, which I can put up on Twitter after this, is I had the Patriots trading back with the Texans, which is going from 34 to 42, and the Texans moved up for I think Ladd McConkey was still on the board, so they traded up for Ladd McConkey, and then I grabbed a tackle at 42, and then I acquired 42 and 86 for 34.
Okay.
Which on the draft chart it's a little bit of an overpay in terms of raw value, but if a guy that the Texans really want, and again, probably not realistic that they want a wide receiver. Again, if somebody falls, maybe, but they just traded for Stephon Diggs, so like the computer mocked a trade up for them, and took a wide receiver, which I don't think is really realistic. I also do not think Carolina is trading up after just making a selection.
What if they want one of these centers?
You really think that a center is going to go before their pick at 39? Who do they? Realistically, you've got the Oregon kid Jackson Powers, and then you've got the West Virginia kid. Is it Frazier?
Yeah, you got Arizona who could want a center. Washington could go center. They could or guard, obviously. And same thing with Tennessee.
Well, yeah, Tennessee needs offensive line help. I don't know what their depth chart looks like, but they're linked to Joe Alt because they got to keep
Tennessee went wide receiver here,
right? Which I think realistically it's going to be Joe Alt at 7.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we do. Are you looking to more move back, like
I'm looking at, like, realistically, if I'm trading back, if I'm Elliott Wolf, I want to stay within 10, not moving back more than 10 picks. Like Vegas at 44 would be as far back as I'd want to go.
See, I would either want to like stay within this range, or
I'm comfortable staying at 40 within the top 45.
I know you saw my mock. Like, I mocked this, and Draft Tech has it around the fair value, where you move back to 48 and you get essentially you move up a little bit in day 3, but you also got a late 3rd round pick.
Yeah, I mocked it to Houston because
all right, let's go to the Raiders. Let's go back to the Raiders and do the pick that we've talked about before. You want to do that?
Well, didn't we do this last week?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think. Hold on. I'm pretty sure we did it last week. Let me bring up our.
Well, again, so let's be realistic of where teams can move up to. So
So I mean, the most realistic offer is going to be Las Vegas is going to be calling teams because they want to trade up for Michael Penix before he
Or a
disappears.
team wants to trade up for a wide receiver, like the Indianapolis Colts.
I mean, how aggressive do the Colts really want to be in the middle of the second round, given how deep the draft is?
I mean, they're all going to want to. Everyone's going to want their own guy.
Well, I mean, you figure, right? Like Michael Pittman and
They're all in from what I've read on wide receiver and corner. Like they're going to be aggressive to fill those needs because they're the two biggest needs on the team by far. Not the Pittman and Downs of slouches. Or let me rephrase: they could also go tight end. Like I've heard that they could trade up.
Apparently, we did not post our mock draft.
No, I did not last year. I did not. I don't think so.
I think you posted it on yours.
Maybe. Yeah, I did. Anyways, all right. Let's make a decision here. I mean, I would like get as a player that a team could trade up for.
That's true. What other what? I mean, I know Troy Franklin's been on some draft boards. You post too often. I'm still scrolling back.
Go to the media.
Oh, good call. Thank you. All
right, let's get the ball rolling here. So let's go with the Colts. Let's say the Colts move up and they give us 46, 117, and a 2025 fourth.
Here it is. We traded back with the Raiders. We traded 34 for 44, 112 in next year's first. So let's not mock that again.
Not first, fourth.
Did I say first?
Yeah.
Fourth, I'm sorry.
So let's do basically the same things, I guess a touch worse. 46, 117 in Arizona's. I mean in Indy's fourth next year.
So what is it? It's 46, 117, and 4 and a fourth next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's see how this bad Larry goes.
So they wanted they took Sanders still. That's really high for Polk. So now we're into the issue now where Patrick Paul and Sua Mataya. I think I've been working on that pronunciation for quite a while. I think I might have actually gotten it correct. So in this spot, we're probably going to need to go. I mean, your best available tackle is Kieran from Yale. What do we have? Just out of curiosity, who's available for wide receivers? I mean, I like Coleman a lot more than I shouldn't say a lot more. I like Coleman more than you do. They're really down on McMillan now. The heavens just opened up and sunshine came down. I mean, realistically, I think McMillan is a mid to late second round pick. I know that on PFF we could get him at 68. I just don't think he falls that far. I think realistically,
who's best available? Let's see: Newman, Frazier, Isaac.
I mean, Isaac is
Coleman.
Isaac's a little underrated. I mean, realistically, like I really want to go tackle in the second round, especially when you go Drake May. You've got to take the guy that protects the quarterback. So if you go down, I don't know if you have to go to the second page. What did Kieran play at Yale?
It was left tackle.
Okay.
He'll play left guard, and then
he moved over to left tackle, and then it looks like I'm guessing he got hurt.
Yes.
So, which is probably why his overall grade is down. Because if you look at it, he hasn't given up a sack in 3 years. Oh yeah, there it is. He only played 4 games, so he must have gotten hurt. Or was hurt entering the year and didn't come in until the end.
He gave up 1 sack over 700, 800,
and
approximately
64,
860, 800 and no 859.
860 even. No,
Oh
30.
yeah. 860 even. You give one sack and then nothing within the last 429
At
pass
least,
blocking.
at least, because we don't know when that sack took place. I mean, realistically, I think you have to go tackle. I know that
Nothing is technically stopping us from sliding down again. It's not the most likely things to happen, but we look at a team needs. Let's see. So
so here's my concern: tackle is a need. You're risking losing out on the best tackle on the board if you trade back again. Because realistically, if you trade back to 46, you're probably trading back another 8 to 12 picks at a minimum.
all right. So do you want to go Kieran?
Yeah.
All right. Now we can monitor this and maybe move back up.
Pause it. Oh no, the Ravens aren't going back to back wide receiver. Who did Kansas City take at the end of the first? Tackle.
Morgan. Yeah, so Baltimore went Ladd, so at this point they could maybe slide back if we wanted to slide up with them.
Or we trade up to 63 because Baltimore's not going to take a wide receiver. What's the cost to go from 68 to 62? Probably a 5th round pick.
Hold on. Draft Tech. 68's worth 250, 63 is worth 276. So 26 points, which is approximately
It's like a 6th round pick.
Late 5th. So let's say future 5th.
All right. And what are we and what are we doing? We're trading up for Jalen McMillan? Or are we trading up for is Roman Wilson still on the board?
No, I'm pretty sure he went. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case we'd be trading up essentially for
McMillan or Baker, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
They did have
ready? 3, 2.
Okay. Pause it real quick though. Just because of the fact that he was brought in on a 30 visit, do you think that makes the likelihood that it's Baker, if they're both on the board, do you think it's likely that it's Baker over McMillan?
No.
Okay.
I don't. So, I don't think it's really shocking whatsoever that we didn't hear about a single Washington guy besides Michael Penix. He's the exception. The single Washington
I
guy,
forget about what's the guy's name that we have here now.
Tyler Hughes was Washington's wide receiver coach last year.
Yeah, so that makes sense because we don't need to bring in we're going to get all the information we want from him on any wide receiver.
And obviously you can Zoom interview him and they do all that type of stuff. I would guarantee they met with him. I know that Tyler Hughes and some other scouts
they would have talked to him at the pro day. I just know I think they said, I forget who I heard this from. They brought in 25 guys on top 30 visits. And
correct, there was another one. Well, they brought in 30. It's just been 25 has been reported. There was one more today. I forget. I forget who it was, but same thing though with the University of Miami. Is Alonzo Highsmith knows that team inside and out. Like he was around that team every day.
Yeah.
So, I'm not surprised whatsoever that we heard zero rumblings from Cameron Kitchens and Leonard Taylor and who's that? There's one other guy. I think he's a wide receiver for them off the top of my head. But like, I'm not shocked that we haven't heard much about him because they don't really need to dig deep into them because they have two guys in the room that could tell you, more about them than anyone else can, especially McMillan and Polk. Like Tyler Hughes literally was with them every single day. He knows them. The only person that might know them as much as Tyler Hughes in the NFL circles is Seattle's OC, who was the OC at Washington.
Yeah, so the other Miami players are Javion Cohen, a guard, James Williams, safety, Matt Lee, center, and then the other ones that we already mentioned, Cameron Kinchens
They have a
and
running back at the end of the draft.
Leonard Taylor. These are I'm on PFF's big board on my phone.
Oh, okay.
And those
Maybe
are
I'm
the
mistaken it for someone else.
Anyway.
All right, yeah. So let's play it out. So we moved up to 63 to get McMillan, the guy we want. I've said this a dozen times now. Like, I get the concept that you want an X receiver. The reality is you want a good receiver. And McMillan is 6'1". He's got pretty good speed. The dude just gets open.
And he's
Like,
and he's good size for a guy that's 6'1". He weighed in at just under 200 pounds.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's no slouch. And so another comment, and not we can talk about maybe moving up, but I want to like get this out there. I seen comments that Jalen McMillan is essentially like a little bit faster Jakobi Meyers. And my response to that is good. Jakobi Meyers is a good wide receiver. His probably his biggest Achilles heel is he's not fast and he's really not that quick. He's a very decisive, good route runner, but he's not really that quick.
No, he ran a 4.63 40 at the combine.
Yeah,
whatever he came out wasn't.
And McMillan ran a 4.47, and I was looking at that, like McMillan is essentially a slightly lengthier, longer arms, bigger hands, quicker, faster version. If you could get Jakobi Meyers with more quickness and more vertical speed, that could be a very good player.
Yes.
Like Meyers is already that 800, 900 yard guy. Add someone that can add more vertical to his game. Like that's going to be a very good pick. And so when we talk about second and third round guys, like, the bona fide high upside wide receiver ones are round one picks for a reason. When you get into round 2 or 3, yes, you're certainly going to get an occasional wide receiver one, but you're looking for that balance between a safe floor and a guy that will be good. If Jalen McMillan is a solidified wide receiver 2 for the next 5+ years, if he's Chris Godwin,
I would take that.
5+, like, yeah, we're all going to take that. And we're going to be thrilled about it.
Right.
And
especially where they can go out and acquire that bona fide number one, like, the AJ Brown or the T Higgins type of wide receiver. Not to say that would be one of those guys, but you could go get one of those in a trade.
And this is not only that, this is a stepping stone year. Like, people, like, again, I get it. In a perfect world, you land the talent that you really like, and he's your top, ranked player, and he's also a wide receiver X. A big guy that can go vertical, can go deep, go get the ball. I get it. But the priority is good wide receivers, not a specific style of wide receiver. So, in my opinion,
unless they're 6'1", 195 pounds. I agree, but I would say too, though, right? And I feel like in the modern day college, the Mike Evanses of the world are not the dime a dozen. I don't want to. Not that they were really a dime a dozen, right? Like, you're talking about a guy who's never not had 1,000-yard season, but like Mike Evans, I feel that type of player, I feel like, is a little bit of a dying breed. you're like the 6'4", 6'5" guys who also are burners. Not that Mike Williams is not gonna beat Tyreek Hill in a race. Not that anybody is, maybe a bad example, but like Mike Evans is a 6'4", 6'5", 215, 220-pound guy who runs a really good route tree. He has great hands, and he can beat corners off the line of scrimmage. That player doesn't exist very much in the college game. You have either the Jalen McMillans, the Devontae Smiths, the Jameson Williams of the world, the guys that are 6'1", 6'2", 190, who are just so fast that they don't have to be 6'4", 220 to out-muscle guys. Then you have the Keon Colemans of the world. I happen to like Keon Coleman a little bit more than you do. It's just his talent isn't necessarily quick off the line, immediately separate, get open. He is a great route runner with good hands, and he has good top end speed. He just doesn't get there like a Jalen McMillan or a Devontae Smith does. So that's the tricky part, right? Is you're not getting somebody who looks like Keon Coleman who can run like Jalen McMillan. That really doesn't exist in this league anymore. I mean, even Marvin Harrison, right? Marvin Harrison is the consensus wide receiver one of this draft. Marvin Harrison is not 6'4", 225 pounds, running a sub 440. Sub 440.
Yeah.
Sorry, nobody runs a sub 440. That's insane. But like even Marvin Harrison isn't Mike Williams.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a balance when evaluating these guys. And then I know you've obviously made the comments before that, like, I love that 6'1", 197 guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, I love a Brian Thomas Jr. And he's bigger than that. He's 6'2", 209, something like that. He's on the bigger side of that. So I like it's, I probably lean more towards that 6'1", 195 to 200 range. But it's like, again, I like guys that can get open. Like, so that is what I prioritize.
Here's the scary part about Brian Thomas Jr. is he measured in at 6'3", 209 and ran a 4'3", 340.
Yeah, he's a freak. He's my wide receiver.
But again, right, like, Mike Evans is 6'4", 225, and he ran like a 4'4", 40.
Yeah, and that's why Mike Evans is really good. Yeah. And so, yeah, again, like I like, I'm a worthy guy, a guy that gets open. Like, he's good. He's fast. He's quick. He's decisive in his routes. Obviously, he's fast. Like, he broke the freaking record,
4.2, 140, yes.
Yeah. Mitchell, I've kind of cooled a little bit on Mitchell. I still like him. He's got a good length and stuff like that. But, he doesn't get open as much. But the reason I love, where did he go? Right here, this guy. Like, the dude is a machine. He just gets open. Like, and that is success in the NFL. And I wrote about that in my mock today that I released. When I drafted McMillan, I think I drafted him 48th overall, which was, obviously earlier than what we traded up here. The easiest path to success in the NFL is getting open and having good hands.
Yeah. McConkey, for comparison, is measured in the 6 foot, 186, and he ran a 4.39. The one thing I will say, he has really short arms and tiny hands.
Yeah, and so, we'll see how McConkey plays out. Again, it's not that I hate Keon Coleman. It's like, I just don't think Keon Coleman's a second-round talent. Like, if we were, hypothetically sitting and we haven't taken a wide receiver in round 3 and, like, he's in mid-round 3, like, what I could, I know we don't have a mid-round 3, but, a mid-round 3 guy, yeah, I would consider him at that point. But, like, he's not as clean. He doesn't create separation the way I like, and he's more of a use his body to get open. And you could call it maybe a little bit of PTSD from N'Keal Harry, but I'm over that type of receiver, and we need guys that could just simply get open. But, all right, let's get back to this. We have our tackle, we have our wide receiver, we have our quarterback. At this point, like, you're fishing into going best available. So let's play it out. We'll get to 103, and see how this works. All right, let's see. So Trotter and Van Pran goes. So we're sitting at 103. There's Cade Stover. Mahogany came in on a visit. Michael Hall was a little bit underrated. Wiley came in on a visit. Kitchens is a guy that, as we mentioned, him not having much reported or much at all reported communication with the Pats is a non-issue. Like I said, they know him from Alonzo Highsmith. There's, let's see, Jacob Cohen, who is tiny as hell, but man, that dude, like, he's going to find a role in this league. Anaya Smith came in on a top 30 visit. Braylon Allen, I'm a guy I like personally. I've seen this guy mocked. I haven't done a ton of research on him. He played some running back in college, but he's going to be probably a safety in the NFL. He's a freak athlete. Freak athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I think because there's a need at free safety, I think you're looking at either free safety or tight end, depending on what they want to do.
Yeah, and this guy he played deep.
Yeah,
so he played.
I would look at either Kinchens because of the Alonzo Highsmith connection. He played free safety at Miami, or you could see something like a Wiley or a Stover, if depending on what the Pats want to do.
I think I'd probably wait on tight end.
Yeah, I know,
maybe, we both like Muhammad Kamara. There's just been no connection between the two teams, so that doesn't mean anything that they're not considering them. But we just haven't heard anything. Caden Wallace is another target. Leonard Taylor, I was doing some research on him today. The dude is just a menace up the middle. He's a monster coming up the middle. So we can consider him later on. But I like.
I mean, Kinchens. He makes a ton of sense. I mean, again, they have a need at that position. Obviously he didn't grade very well this past year, but he fits a need. I mean, it's a 4th round pick for a reason.
Yeah, he plays deep. This you gotta and people will recognize this, I guess, but he was like a round 2 guy before the combine. Mid round 2 guy, and if he's there sitting here at the top of the 4th round, again, my thing with Kitchens is if you don't stare at the paper and you watch him play football, you'll come away pretty impressed.
Yeah,
I think he's pretty good. So, all right, let's go Cameron Kitchens here. Now we have the 117 pick from Indianapolis.
From Indy, yep.
Yep. So that this is, we talked about Elliott Wolf. He wants to add a little bit more picks. That's why I think moving down from 134 is so possible.
Yeah. So I mean,
to add more people.
Positions of need. I think corner is a sneaky need. I'd like to have a guy opposite Christian Gonzalez, which would allow us to kick John Jones inside. I think he's best positioned in the slot. A guy that I like is the kid out of Missouri, Chris Edwards Drain. No,
Chris Abrams
Strain. Sorry. I like him. I mean, he was their number 2 wide receiver. He was the number 2 corner this year. Rakestraw was their number 1. He's like an early 2nd round pick in this year's draft. Drill down on him for a minute. There it goes. Was he inside or outside? It doesn't say. Well, it doesn't say. It doesn't say slot. So he was playing outside.
No, it does. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying it does. It doesn't say outside, but it does say slot. So
yeah. He was playing on the outside.
Yeah. So not a great run guy. Although we don't need him for that. We've got Duggar, Peppers, John Jones. So he's a guy that I would like here if they feel like they need. He's a little undersized, but he played wide. He also played wide receiver, so he's got plenty of athleticism.
There's also this guy we've talked about. We mocked him last week.
Yes, a little taller, but he's skinny, and he doesn't have a ton of length either.
Yeah, I'm fine with Chris Abrams.
The only other thing too is there's the Arkansas kid that we can get later. I can't think. He's got I forget what his name is. He has a weird name. Not weird, but yeah,
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin. Josh Newton is a guy, maybe.
I believe the Pats brought him.
DeCameron Richardson
Pats brought him in on a visit.
Yeah, and he's also an outside guy, and he's got really good. He's older, but he's got really good size.
6'2", so yeah. It's up to you. What do you want to do? We could go Abrams. If not,
well, if we don't go corner, what are we doing?
We could go Braylon Allen. We could go.
You could double dip on receiver here.
Yeah, you could double dip. You could go Leonard Taylor, the Miami DT.
I would say they're probably more likely to go corner than they are interior defensive linemen. I mean, I get that they don't have. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that because they don't have Lawrence Guy, so there is another need for somebody else along the defensive line. I know that they want Keon White to make the next step, so maybe they kick him, into the starting rotation more.
Yeah, and they got a series of guys that have played pretty solid. Next, and they got Godshaw and Barmore still in the contract, but plus they still got like Ekula, whatever his name is,
Equali,
and Sam Roberts, and
is Cowart still kicking around?
No, there's one other guy I'm having a mind blank what his name is, but anyways, Caden Wallace is another. What?
I was just gonna say. I mean, I would say either Abrams or maybe double dick. Wow,
double dick.
Talk about a massive Freudian slip. I would say either
wide receiver. Like what's there at wide receiver?
Not much.
Oh, this is who I was thinking about.
Oh, Cornelius Johnson.
When I was saying University of Miami, but it's Michigan.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't mind Brendan Rice, but like,
I haven't heard a whisper. They met informally at like the Shrine Bowl or something like that, but
yeah. Other than that, I mean, I would say, how far down the list is DeCameron Richardson compared to Abrams?
Oh, pretty far down.
Like, is it a massive reach if they go? Oh yeah. So I mean, you could probably get him at. Well, you'd have to trade up from 180 probably to get him. I mean,
So hold on.
I mean,
we don't have to trade that for. Do I want to mock a trade right now?
No, we acquired the pick. I would imagine that he wants to use the picks, if he wants to acquire picks, he'll use them. You let me pick the last one. You make the call on this one.
What are your thoughts on Braylon Allen?
I mean, I like Braylon Allen. This would be one of those cases where they're just taking a freak athlete who's got a ton of potential, as opposed to taking a guy they like that also fills a need. I mean,
you got to think at this point in the draft, a lot of it is more best available. Like I know you're trying to fill needs and stuff, but you're just trying to like hit on picks. Yeah, so like hitting on picks is the priority.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want. I mean, realistically, your best available player right now is probably Braylon Allen. I just don't know if they want to take a running back in the 4th round because it's not a 4th round.
All right, I'll go Chris Abrams.
Isaiah Davis has been shooting up draft boards. He's Mel Kiper's 10th ranked running back now.
Braylon Allen goes to 125. Screw you. I love him. All right. So now 137 was sitting there. Oh boy.
I mean, that makes sense. Mason Smith is also a goal one above Taylor. Mason Smith is a guy who is, he's skinny, but he. It's funny. I think I said this to you
skinny
in a chat. Well, skinny for a guy that's 6'6".
315. Skinny.
So to quote the big board from Felger and Maz, he was a guy that they threw the pen cap and hit him. And I think the draft magazine they use, I forget the name of it. I think, and I sent this to you because when they read it, it made me laugh. enough that I had to directly quote it and send it to like 17 people. I think the exact verbiage was that he has really good penetration skills despite his size. And I just thought that particular write-up was really, really funny. But it got like that.
Ooh.
That makes sense. I really like Gabriel Murphy. I think he's very underrated. He's a good player that
Yeah, I like this. I think that's the pick.
Gabriel.
I like both of them. Him and his brother, his
I
twin
mean,
brother Grayson.
I mean, I like Gabriel more than Grayson, but so go yeah.
Yes, I
So
do.
let's go Gabriel because we don't necessarily need the defensive interior player, although it wouldn't be a bad thing to do. Just
All
given the
right.
fact that did how much end did Barmore play last year, if any?
Not much.
Because what's fun
there's
there was Cameron Richardson and DJ
yeah.
James and Jaheim Bell. I know tight end is is like a
Oh,
late
that's who came on. That's the other visit that we saw is
Jaheim Bell.
No, it's he's a tight end. He went to Arizona. It's like Tyler.
Oh, all right.
I forget his last name. He was from what I've read, he's a decent all around guy. He could be like a round six. This guy. I
Oh,
almost said McLaughlin.
Tanner McLaughlin. Good enough athlete for his size. I mean, he's got good size. He is old. Holy cow.
Yeah, he's already 25.
Yeah. And what's interesting too, speaking of older players, did you know that Blake Corum's going to be 24 this year?
Yeah, I mean that's how when Stevenson came out of the league, he was like basically already 24.
Oh wow.
AJ Brown is a deep guy that fits, I think. All right, so now like I can't look at our own board, but
we went with Kitchens, right? At 103.
Yeah, we went Kitchens, we went with safety, corner, and edge now. So at this point, we got 3 more picks. We got 2 6th-round picks and a 7th-round pick.
I think you just got to go best available.
Yeah, and so I look at this,
which I think it's that Proctor kid from Iowa.
Proctor. Well, are you gonna go safety again?
Oh no, him Taylor.
Tory Taylor.
I like
Michael Barrett's a guy.
I like Michael Barrett at linebacker. That's kind of a sneaky need. I mean, if you really want to go running back, you could.
McKinley Jackson is a decent name that I like. But,
yeah, Dylan Laub. I don't know how you say his last name. Dylan Johnson's also a name I've heard late rounds for them. I mean, if you're gonna go best available, well,
this is just stupid.
Yeah,
this is just straight up stupid.
He's a lot better than that.
Yeah, so this is a name that I've come up with here. I've seen him mocked here a few times. I haven't read a ton about him. He's not like like it says here. His profile. He's more of a guard.
Yeah.
But he could be that later round. I would say I think he's fallen this far. Like I've seen him more as 5th and 6th, 5th round guy pick because he's that tweener.
Yeah, he also didn't grade very well. What other tackles are on the board?
There's Amani Bailey, who I know visited the Patriots. Jalen Simpson's still available. Joshua Cephas, who I like. Justin Rogers, who I like.
I would say no on going with another safety because that's not a position that we really need to double dip on.
Yeah, I agree. We could go wide receiver. We could double dip on like a Cephas or a Bub Means. I know Tequan Underwood is the Patriots' assistant wide receiver coach. I mocked him in my final mock to the Patriots. In large part due to that connection. Nathaniel Watson visited the Patriots.
Is Michael Barrett? Do we need? Well, so for me, I would say either linebacker or wide receiver.
I would say let's go linebacker here. Or Cohen. Is he still available?
Yeah, he is. But yeah, you just passed him.
Yeah. All right. I like that pick. I think he's a solid guy. So now we're sitting at 193.
And then
Um,
there's the option too, right, where we could probably get one of those. Like you could get a Bub Means at 193.
or Joshua Cephas.
There's Cohen.
Um, you
Was
want to
that
go
the?
Means? We could go Means or Cephas.
I don't know much about Cephas. I haven't really done a ton of research
He's
on
a
him.
deep ball guy, good size. Yeah. I mean, this kind of describes it. Describes him pretty well. Like he's not like this crazy good athlete. He just produced in college.
All
Like,
right,
look at that.
I'd rather go Means then probably.
All right, let's go. There you go.
And
Unfortunately,
then
the two guys I mocked to the Patriots in the last two picks aren't on this, which is Travis Glover from Georgia State. He is a 5-year starter at Georgia State. Played both sides. He came in for a visit with the Patriots, and then Rico Payton. He's a D2 corner that also came in for a visit. I take those things kind of, visits are the guys that come in the later rounds. When you have used top 30 visits on guys that are going to be projected seventh, eighth, or seventh, eighth, seventh or undrafted guys, those are the probably guys that you pay attention to most. Like those are the visits that matter the most because
yeah,
when they're gonna like these guys, they don't matter. They don't know a ton about. They probably met with them once, stuff like that. Maybe it wasn't even like Mayo or Wolf meeting with them. It was just like a scout or two. It's really
yeah.
just recommendation. So when you have these guys come in for visits, it's worthy. Rico Payton played at Pittsburgh State, and by Pittsburgh State I mean one without the H at the end. Pittsburgh with no H at the end state. He was really good there, but D2 school. So all right, so 231. We have the option. We could go somewhere like there, Tanner, that came in. Um, Solomon Bird fits the profile a little bit of an edge rusher, but we already took one. Ooh, we go interior line. Ooh. Or we could go tackle again.
I thought we didn't take a tackle at
No,
180.
no, we
I
went
mean, oh, this we went
Barrett.
with Barrett. There's really no tackle that I'd really
I
say like
this would be the tackle I would take. Josiah Erzurum,
Zerum, whatever.
Zerum. Hey, that's pretty damn good.
What's the end of that write up look like? All right, go with that.
All right, I'm not going to act like I know a ton about him, but I saw him in a few mocks, and from what I read, it seems like an interesting late dart pick.
Yeah,
Dart throw pick. All right, yeah, so that's our mock.
looks a lot different than last week's, considering we got a different quarterback. We did something different at
we went McMillan last time, but we
went with we ended up getting McCarthy at 3 because we didn't like mock it so that Daniels went number 2, although McCarthy went 2, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, keep going.
Hold on. All right. Yeah, I mean, I like,
and what's really weird to me, right? Like you talk about like the algorithms for how they grade picks, and you look at Kitchens, for example. Go back to our mock. So go back to Kitchens, right? So Kitchens was graded at 109. We took him at 103. They graded us a C for that pick. If you go down, Gabriel Murphy is ranked 149th, and we took him at 137. So we took
same
him.
thing here.
No, I know, but what's interesting? But go back down. So we technically reached for Gabriel Murphy more than we did for Kitchens, and they gave us a better grade for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying for Kieran too. He's
Like,
11 spots ranked lower, and we got a B minus.
I mean,
Yeah,
my guess is the grade is probably player rank also relative to need.
Yeah, maybe
Because
something like that.
I don't think because PFF doesn't say that we need a safety. So like
Yeah.
I've done mocks where I take Jalen Simpson at like 193 and it gives me an F, and it's like that's not an F pick.
Look at that, we got awards.
We did,
B plus rating,
and we're in the top 84% of all Patriots mock drafts.
Wow.
No idea what that means, but we're going.
All
with
right.
it.
All
I mean,
right.
overall, I'd be really happy with that as a mock. I mean, big picture, right? Like you're talking, your day 3 guys, and I'll say day 2, I think is separate, right? Day 1, day 2 guys are the guys that you absolutely have to hit a home run with. Are guys that are A+ prospects who fill a need at the same time, right? That's why we're talking Drake May. That's why we're talking Jaden Daniels at 3. I would prefer May over Daniels, just my personal preference. If May is an A+ pick at 3, Daniels to me is an A. We're splitting hairs at that point. And then I really think that you either have to move up for a tackle from 34 if a guy that you think really fits your scheme falls into that, like I said, that like late 20s range. I think it would be nice to kind of be aggressive and go get a tackle. Otherwise, those early second round picks, those early day 2 picks are going to be so valuable to certain teams. Especially where, the more I think about it, I think that, maybe not necessarily for McCarthy, just because I think that the quarterback is deep enough. But I think that similar to when they were talking about like Will Levis being a top 10 pick, that really isn't going to be. That's not going to come to fruition. You're not going to see Michael Penix go 13th to Vegas. You're not going to see Bo Nix or Penix going 12th to Denver. Those guys are going to be. Someone's going to trade up to 30, 31, 32, from the early to mid second round because they want a first round quarterback. So I really think that you're going to see teams calling the Pats, and the Pats are going to trade 34. If they're still sitting there, they're going to trade it. If somebody falls, then they're going to call Arizona. They're going to call Tampa. They'll call Detroit. I don't think they'll call Buffalo. I think this is kind of like an unwritten rule that early in the draft, you don't call a division rival and make a trade. It's very, very rare. Not to say that it wouldn't happen, but I would be very, very surprised if they stayed at 34. I think trading back is more likely. I don't know if they pull the trigger on taking one of the tackles that falls because I'm not even sure if one does. And then, if they can add picks, great. But I think that those day 3 picks are, best available guys, but, quarterback at 3, and then you got to go tackle wide receiver in some order in your second.
Oh, it's going to be so funny when they go corner.
I'm talking with your second and third round picks. I really think you got to go tackle in wide receiver. My preference, especially if you take May or Daniels at 3, you got to go tackle first. That's just the lot. It's not the sexiest thing to do, but it's the logical thing to do. You protect potential franchise quarterback. But I think you really have to, whether you're adding picks or not, I really think that quarterback, wide receiver, tackle are the 3 things that you got to do first. And again, quarterback, tackle, wide receiver is my preference of order. But if they trade out of 34 and they can still get a legit wide receiver prospect at 44 and take the tackle at somewhere else, great. But if it turns out that they have that there's they have to go with Kieran or Kingsley, somebody falls, then I think that's what I'm looking for Thursday night.
We'll take it how it goes. One thing I don't think I mentioned earlier, I might have, but Daniel Jeremiah, and this is probably just the most concrete news that we could get. Daniel Jeremiah said he spoke directly to a GM who would know. He said, by that meaning, I would say a team that potentially inquired about the Patriots' 3rd overall pick. And that GM told Daniel Jeremiah that the pick is not being traded and they're going to take Drake May.
Did he indicate where, not the team, but did he say whether it was AFC, NFC, or a particular division?
No. It just said
And
just said he spoke directly to a GM that would know. And it says that the Patriots are going to stick and take a quarterback.
And did he say quarterback or did he say Drake May?
I think it said Drake May. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, and that's also the belief, right? Like that, the belief is that Daniels is going to go number 2.
Why can I not find it now? Oh, I'm searching his name wrong. Daniel Jerry Maya. There we go. Let's see.
Oh, you retweeted it from Matt at the Joey McNeely. Matt Grows Hot Takes is the account name. It says Daniel.
Yeah, I saw this. I saw this earlier. Oh no, it's from.
This was from
account earlier, but he was on Ryan Russillo's podcast. That's what it was. And it says, I spoke to a GM last night who would know, and they told me that pick will not be for sale. New England will be sticking and picking and sticking. Also says he thinks, quote, Drake May will be in New England.
Okay. I mean, I think that's the hope. I think, there's still some scuttlebutt floating around. Guys are not sold on the quarterbacks for a whole host of reasons. But, I think the logical thing is, if Wolf was accurate in his statements that they believe Daniels and May are both franchise caliber quarterbacks, then you take one. That realistically, unless somebody gets wholeheartedly stupid with an offer, you just don't trade the pick if you think that Daniels can be the next Lamar Jackson-esque quarterback, or that Drake May can be the next Josh Allen / Justin Herbert. Like, if you really really believe that that's correct, that that's their ceiling, that if you develop them correctly and do all the right things, that's what they will become, then there's no real, like you said earlier, and I think you worded it really, really well. There is no realistic offer that will come across the table worthy of trading away the chance to have that kind of player on your team.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Like, we'll find out within the next 24 hours. I mean, 48 hours roughly. That's the second time I've done that.
But you're just getting excited.
Yeah, I mean, full expectation is, I think from both of us, is that Drake May will be a Patriot in 48 hours, and I think we'll both be very happy about that, and the Patriots fan base will
probably
be about 2/3 very happy.
Yeah, 2/3 happy. And then for those who follow sports betting, the current odds according to DraftKings Sportsbook now have at number 2 Jaden Daniels at a -400 and Drake May at a +330. And then at number 3, you have Drake May at a -300. So I know that.
Wow.
I would say within the last week, I know it was after our pod last week, there was some reports out that Daniels through his agent, was unhappy with the structure of his visit with Washington. And there was some rumors that he may not want to play there and that Washington doesn't want to take the risk of having an unhappy player. So the odds really swung to where Daniels was barely a favorite to go number 2 and May was barely an underdog to go number 2. But clearly things have changed and the odds have severely swung back the other way, where Daniels is the heavy favorite to go 1.
When it swayed that way, I threw more money on Daniels. Dude, I've just been following the trends, and I have like 9 different JJ McCarthy bets, but I have them all at like good odds comparatively. So no matter what, I'm going to make like money off of him, no matter where he goes. It's fucking sweet.
Nice.
But, all right. Let's wrap it up there. We did a nice hour and 45 minutes of Patriots talk.
Yes.
Like I said.
And next week we're going to talk about all the players they drafted, and we'll probably talk about some of the players that they didn't. So tune in for that.
Yeah. Drake May hopefully will be wearing number 10 for the New England Patriots next year.
And then we can get more Mac Jones 2.0 comps.
Yeah, I can just. I'm not a big jersey guy, but I got a Mac Jones jersey for a gift. I'll just use some duct tape and
just tape over it and handwrite it out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I did with a Bledsoe jersey when like drafted Brady and won Super Bowls back when I was like 13.
All right. Until next time, I'll raise the banner. Thank you.
Good night.